Hello everyone, Josh here with Anime Impact. We got an awesome topic: Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links vs. Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG. Who is the real champion? Who is the real gladiator? Is it David versus Goliath, or is it Goliath versus David? Who knows? But I know. And we're going to talk about it here today, and I can't wait to see what you guys say in the comment section below. This should be a real fun debate. I will be having a little bit of gameplay in the background for you guys, so you can ignore that if you want, or you can just sit back, relax, open up a cold one, and chill to this video, because we are going to be diving in to what I feel like is the true hard evidence of what is really harder. Now, the first thing a lot of people are going to say is the TCG is automatically going to be better. Like, Anime, what do you think? In the TCG, of course it's harder. Of course it's more difficult. It's got all these OP cards. The decks are so insane. But here is the thing that I want to mention to all of you, that a lot of people are completely overlooking. The TCG has 8,000 life points. Duel Links has 4,000. So you're working with literally half the amount that TCG players have. Granted, TCG has some archetypes that are more built to take down those 8,000 life points in a turn or two. You know, there are OTKs and FTK decks in the TCG, as well as Duel Links, of course. But here is the problem. The TCG does not have skills. Characters have skills in Duel Links, which adds another added layer of difficulty to the game. Not only do players have 4,000 life points to deal with, they also have to deal with a player's skill. Now, the skill could be more useful in certain situations than others, but nonetheless, the skill still exists. Like, dual standby making OTK decks is insane. Dual standby making FTK decks is insane. You have restart, which gives you a second chance with basically no limitations, except for the fact your opponent knows what you're running. But in this current meta, who cares if your opponent knows what you're running? Because we're all running about the same deck. That is what the meta is right now. You also have cards, skills like Extra, which are completely insane if you can keep getting it off repeatedly. You have a Jama Go. You have Draw Sense skills. You have, Beat Down, which once upon a time was like the most OP skill in the game. And now Restart, of course, has taken that. We've had Balance with Red Eyes, which was almost unbeatable to an extent that they had to nerf it. Restart was so crazy good with Cyber Angels when they were full power that they also had to be nerfed twice. We had 3-star Emotion, which when it first came out was so broken that Dark Magician was just swarming on the field, chilling with that Champ's Vigilance in the back, and that was all she wrote. It was like, oh my god. The meta was crazy. Its meta's probably at its worst right now in terms of cancerous decks, but these skills, is the point I'm trying to make, are completely and utterly insane when you add that to the cards that actually come from the OCG and the TCG. You're taking the TCG's cards. See, people are not understanding this. You are taking the same cards with the same effects from the TCG, from the OCG, and you're putting them in a Duel Links format where you get 3 zones and only 3 monster zones, 3 back. That's fine, right? You're not getting the 5. But that's not really decreasing or adding to the value of difficulty between the two. Just having less or more zones does not really matter. Actually, having less zones actually makes some of the decks more harder to use for both yourself and your opponent. So again, I guess you could argue having the limited zones actually makes it a little bit more difficult in its own right. Another thing, the TCG requires you to have 40 cards minimum in your deck. Last time I checked, Duel Links only requires you to have 20. And what does that mean? That means the more and more archetypes that release into Duel Links over the course of the next few months to a year, or however long Duel Links lifespan actually is, the decks will become more and more and more cancerous. The cancerous aspect that you're feeling for a lot of players right now in the game against Spellbooks, against Extra Tilt, against Anki, how crazy mass changes in that deck, how consistent you can get that off. Sylvans, don't even get me started on fucking Sylvans. How consistent that deck is from top to bottom. The deck that cannot brick fucking Sylvans. Imagine how crazy those decks are right now in a 20-card deck. And none of those decks are at full power. None of them. And they're already to the point that they are so damn broken that people are either uninstalling the app, surrendering instantly as soon as they see it, or they're just saying, oh god, my coin toss didn't land on heads or tails, I'm done. Like, when you're game is coming down to literally what your coin toss is, what your first card your opponent sets is, or the fact that you just are tired of it altogether and you uninstall the app, is a testament to how difficult Duel Links truly is and the competitive nature of the game. Especially if you're playing on the ladder where you have a streak system that you have to go through a grueling amount of time every single month. The TCG does not have that added pressure unless, of course, you're going to local tournaments, regional tournaments, whatever. But that is just a part, that's an addition, that's an extension of the game. The thing about ranked PvP is it is the game for Duel Links. It's not an extension. It is all you can do besides farming. That is in its own right what the game is, down to its very core. So you have added pressure as a player from Duel Links more so than you do in the TCG. The TCG, you can also go and find the cards you want on eBay, spend the money you need to spend to build the exact deck that you want to build. While as Duel Links, you have the gacha-based system, which granted is probably one of the best gacha systems out of all the gacha games because if you do invest enough, you will get the cards you want. However, you still have to reset the box smart. You still have to go in multiple amounts of times, and you still might not get the cards you need for the amount you're putting in. And trust me, you are spending more money in Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links than you are in the TCG. And if you try to argue me, you better freaking bring a banker with you, or some kind of office clerk or something, or some kind of secretary that can show me the analytical information that you're getting from your ass, because that'd be incorrect. You could go on eBay right now and build some of these decks in Duel Links that are currently there for 50, 60 bucks. You could get these decks built for fully like that. While as for 50, 60 bucks, you might not even get a single copy of the card that you need at least 2 or 3 of, let alone any of the other cards you need to build that 20, 30 card deck. So if you're going to sit there and argue the point that the TCG is more expensive, you better go check yourself at the door, because that would be incorrect. You are spending a shitload more money in Duel Links. Now, there is, of course, the free-to-play aspect where if you do grind your gems constantly, and not really play competitively, not building, not investing in certain decks, you can, of course, build a certain deck down the road, but you're still going to be limited on how many of those decks you can build before you either have to make a new account every time the meta completely changes with a new box, or open up your wallet and then, of course, spend more money than you would in the TCG. So those are just some little points and tips there, some information for you guys to kind of differentiate between the two. But like I said, the whole thing was which is harder? Which game is harder, the TCG or Duel Links? Now, the TCG right now does have one leg up in the fact that it has more summoning mechanics. There are of course, synchros, which will probably be here in Duel Links at some point. They have Exceed summons and pendulums and Link. However, Link is really not too far off of what you can already do with fusion summoning. So if they do decide to add Links, I'm assuming they probably will, because it's called Duel Links, and the anime Vrains was kind of supposed to be a promotional anime for Duel Links, which kind of never came to fruition for some reason. But I'm assuming at some point Duel Links will have those types of summoning formats. I don't know if they'll throw pendulums in there because of the limited back row, but they might do something. I don't know. Maybe they'll even make some custom pendulums that work only for Duel Links, perhaps, with the whole limited format. Or maybe they'll make an extended format that you can play outside of just a normal ranked PvP, like special duels where you can have the full 5 zones, 5 back row. You can play with exceeds and stuff like that, or whatever. I don't know. Maybe they'll do something like that in the future. But the thing is, the only argument I ever get from people is, oh, but the TCG has this, the TCG has that, they got this and that. You're comparing a card pool to another card pool to disguise your point of what you feel is the level of difficulty between the two. I'm sorry, you cannot use that only excuse that people pull out of their ass to say that the game is harder than another game because it has a bigger card pool. That's a lot of bullshit. Because let me ask you a question. What happens when Duel Links, with all the shit they already have, with the 20 card minimums, 30 card minimums, whatever, if they change that, with the fact that they have the limited zones, the half the life points, the skills, the fact you have to farm for cards, the fact that you have the added pressure of doing monthly ranked PvP constantly on a streak-based system, which nobody likes, with the added pressure of having to do events and farming to get certain cards that are not obtainable. Even if you spend all the money in the world, you still have to farm to get and hope RNG is on your side to get those drops. You know, for example, if we just go back recently, the My event gave us Amazona's Princess, which is a staple 3 of in an Amazona's deck. You need that card. If you got extremely unlucky, or if you didn't use your UR jewels properly, or your UR tickets properly, then you don't have that deck. And you can spend all the money you want in the world, you still can't get that deck. So these are added pressure, these are added elements, more things to add to the overall difficulty, the overall layers upon layers of grinding and mental strain that you have to do to become an actual everyday Duel Link player, opposed to the TCG. And a lot of these TCG players are all like, "Oh, Duel Links is the lower tier version of the TCG. It's the child's version of TCG." No, I'm sorry to tell you guys, that shit is gone, debunked. I just did it here today. If you guys need to prove that argument, have your friends, have your family, have whatever, have your neighbor, have some dude down the street who wants to argue with you and tell you that Duel Links is not difficult, Duel Links is not hard. Tell them to come watch this video and listen to what I just said, because it's going to be very hard for you to debunk and to argue any of the points I just made, because you could easily do a Google search or play the game yourself, and everything I said, of course, was true. Now, the TCG, like I said, does have that leg up, though, with the whole aspect that they have more summoning formats. But don't be surprised when those come to Duel Links. And then what will your excuse be? What will your friend that's been arguing with you say? "Oh, Duel Links is so easy. You're just playing all these old shitty decks. They're all trash decks. None of those decks would do shit in the TCG." Yeah, well, the TCG doesn't have fucking skills, doesn't have half-life points unless you're doing like a special format, and it sure as hell doesn't have minimum 20-card decks that make the deck super fucking retarded consistent. Okay? When you're talking about those variables, that adds up to a lot of fucking tilt, a lot of crazy shit. And what are you going to argue when Duel Links starts adding those additional cards to the current card pool? What are you going to do? Remember, they add a new box once or twice every, I'd say 20 to 30 days. Then they have selection boxes. They have fucking these what are they? The starter decks, the structure decks. Sorry, the structure decks. So I mean, and they got the card trader, which is a pain in the ass. Then you got all these farming events. You got these level up all these characters. Shitty low EXP for that, unless you want to pay to win with like a whale and use the vagrants. So there's a lot of fucking aspects to this game to even try to build the deck that you want to take into PvP before you even add all the other variables that you don't have to deal with in the TCG. So next time your friend or your family or anybody that you know comes and tells you that Duel Links is kiddie shit, it's the kiddie pool compared to the ocean of the TCG, you better tell them that they are fucking looking through the wrong side of the fucking scope, I guess. I don't know. But anyways, it's like, that's what you need to tell them. You need to tell them they're full of shit. They don't know what they're talking about. They obviously don't play Duel Links enough to understand that it is indeed a challenge. It may be a different kind of challenge than TCG players are used to, and maybe that's where the argument comes from. Maybe that's where the fucking bitterness comes from, the saltiness or whatever. TCG players seem to think that they're better than people that play Duel Links. But here is my fucking question. If it's such a fucking shitty version to the TCG, then why are TCG players so inclined to complain and whine and devalue Duel Links? Answer that to me. You know what they used to tell me in school? You know what they still tell people? Usually a bully is jealous, and that's why they're a bully. And I think that's what it is. I think the TCG players are a little bit butthurt that Duel Links has snuck up on them and has taken a big chunk of the fan base. Now, you can be a fan of both. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. That's probably what Konami actually wants, because that's more dollar signs for them. But for those of you who choose a side and you're stuck to that side, just remember, if you're on the TCG side, don't take Duel Links lightly because it will surprise you. It's a lot more difficult than you think it really is. It takes a lot of things to get into Duel Links, to stay a Duel Link player, to stay a dedicated player. You've seen my videos. I have hundreds and hundreds of videos of me playing this game. You guys should know, if you're subscribed to me, how difficult, how challenging, and how irritating and stressful this game can be. And this game isn't even at full power yet, because do remember, the card pool will continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger, meaning the TCG players' excuses will get smaller and smaller and smaller. Just remember that, guys. So if you are a big diehard TCG player and you talk shit on Duel Links players, I'd advise you to put your head between your legs, look up, and kiss your ass, because that's a load of shit. And that's just all I have to say for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys have any kind of opinions or suggestions or topics, or if you want to bitch or try to, I don't know, whatever you want to do it in the comment section below. I can't wait to read some of your guys' comments. I'm just trying to stick out for the little guy here, because they get talked a lot of shit on when in fact they really shouldn't be. It should be the other way around, because the TCG players, yes, I'm not saying that either game is easy. I'm not saying the TCG isn't challenging. It does have its merits, but you cannot sleep on Duel Links and the challenges that a daily Duel Link player has to go through day in, day out, every single month, with all the variables that we discussed in today's video. And you know, it's just the way it is. Like, is it David versus Goliath, or is it Goliath versus David? It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. The point is the TCG and Duel Links, in my personal opinion, Duel Links is more difficult because of the added layers of variables that you have to take into account besides just the actual duel in the first place. All the things that you have to do, all the things you have to prepare for, all the things you have to literally live day in and day out to compete on a competitive level in this game. It is not easy by no means, and in my opinion, more challenging than the TCG. And like I said, the TCG, the only thing it has as an advantage right now is the card pool, which of course that'll get lower and lower as Duel Links adds more and more box sets in the future. And if they start adding more summoning mechanics like synchros, for example, or if they add links or whatever, that excuse that TCG players have will become more and more and more irrelevant. And they also have a thing called a ban list and limited list, which Konami never utilizes properly in Duel Links. So you also got that added tilt to deal with. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you're new. Drop a like if you did. Comment below what you guys think. If you agree with me, say so. And if you don't, that's fine too. I look forward to reading all your suggestions, your opinions, and all the good stuff you have for me. Again, subscribe if you're new. Join us in the Discord as well in the description below. Until next time, have a great day wherever you are. Peace.